Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala, thumma amma ba'd. To proceed, inshallah, today we will have Bab al-Mahabba in Tazkiyah or Tasawwuf. We'll have Bab al-Mahabba, and in Fiqh, inshallah, we will have the chapter on the rulings of debts and interdiction, which is Hajj. The rulings of debts and other rulings, particularly it will be about interdiction. First we will start with Imam al-Harawi rahimahullah ta'ala, and alhamdulillah we finished 6 of the 10 sections. The 6 sections that we finished, the last one was the section on the valleys, al-Awdiyah, and the last station in the valleys was the station of al-Himma, that's the inner drive. Today we will start the section on al-Ahwal, the spiritual states. Al-Ahwal would be states, spiritual states. And this section is also 10 stations as usual. And the Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala said قسم الأحوال وأما قسم الأحوال فهو 10 أبواب وهي the section on the states. As for the section on the states, it's 10 chapters. Al-Mahabba, love. Al-Ghayra, protectiveness. Al-Shawq, yearning or longing. Al-Qalaq, anxiety. Al-Atash, thirst. Al-Wajd, ecstasy. Al-Dahash, astonishment. Al-Hayaman, bewilderment. Al-Barq, lightning. Al-Zawq, taste. So those are the 10 stations that we'll go over next, inshallah. Al-Mahabba, love. Al-Ghayra, protectiveness. Ghayra literally means jealousy. It means in this context protectiveness. Wal-Shawq, yearning. Al-Qalaq, anxiety. Al-Atash, thirst. Al-Wajd, ecstasy. Al-Dahash, astonishment. Al-Hayaman, bewilderment. Al-Barq, lightning. Wal-Zawq, taste. Shaykh will start by the chapter on love, Bab al-Mahabba, or the station of love, Maqam al-Mahabba. And he started by saying قال الله عز وجل ما يرتد منكم عن دينه فسوف يأتي الله بقوم يحبهم ويحبونه. Allah the Almighty said, whoever of you should revert from his religion, Allah will bring forth in place of them a people He will love and who will love Him. A people He will love and who will love Him. And the appropriateness of starting by this verse is obvious, so we don't need to elaborate on it. This is a verse from Surah Al-Ma'idah in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu may yartadda minkum an dinihi, O you who believe, whoever reverts from his religion, فَسَوْفَ يَأْتِي اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ, Allah will bring forth a people. يُحِبُّهُمْ, He loves them. وَيُحِبُّونَهُ, and they love Him. أَذِلَّةٍ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, humble with the believers, they show humility towards the believers. أَعِزَّةٍ عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ, mighty against the disbelievers. أَذِلَّةٍ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَعِزَّةٍ عَلى الْكَافِرِينَ يُجَاهِدُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, they strive in the cause of Allah. وَلَا يَخَافُونَ لَوْمَةَ لَائِمٍ, and they don't fear the blame of the blamers. ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَن يَشَاءُ, this is the grace of Allah, He bestows it on whomever He pleases. وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ, and Allah is vast, all-knowing. And certainly you could have dedicate the rest of the lecture to this particular verse, but inshallah, this is the description of the ones that love Allah and the ones that Allah loves. It deserves, and a verse like this would deserve our attention, and we need to go and read, the different tafsirs and try to reflect on the meanings of this verse. But it is a very beautiful verse, and it's full of meanings. The Shaykh then said, المحبة تعلق القلب بين الهمة والأنس في البذل والمنع على الإفراد. المحبة, he starts by defining المحبة, and he says here تعلق القلب بين الهمة والأنس في البذل والمنع على الإفراد. That's his definition, the Shaykh's definition of محبة. تعلق القلب بين الهمة والأنس. Love is the exclusive clinging of the heart, but flanked by drive and uns, comforting intimacy. When given and deprived, or in giving and depriving and withholding. So تعلق القلب بين الهمة والأنس, because for mahabba you have to have himma, you have to have inner drive, you have to have irada, you have to have the will. When you love someone, you have to have the will. But that is your pursuit. That is your seeking of the beloved. So you have to have love is a willful action. Love, and we will come to see here that love requires proofs. Love requires basically validation. So it's a willful action. It needs that inner drive to seek the beloved, to please the beloved, to earn the love of the beloved. Because what matters most is not your love of Allah, is His love of you, right? It is to earn His love. And if you are a true lover of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will earn His love. But really what matters the most is that Allah loves you. يحبهم ويحبونه. He loves them and they love Him. So تعلق القلب بين الهمة والأنس. It is the clinging of the heart, and he will later say it's the exclusive clinging of the heart, flanked by or surrounded by, accompanied by himma and uns. Himma, the drive, and uns is the comforting intimacy. Himma is your drive to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The comforting intimacy is upon the acceptance and reciprocation by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He gives you that comforting intimacy. He gives you that feeling of uns with Him Azza wa Jal, if you have the drive to seek Him, after you show Him your dedication and your devotion. في البذل والمنع, that could mean when given and deprived, like when Allah gives you and deprives you, and that's extremely important. Or it could mean in your giving and your withholding. You give for Allah and you withhold for Allah. The first one is even better. The first interpretation is even better. على الإفراد, which means exclusive. But في البذل والمنع, when given and deprived. Because some people only love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He bestows His grace and His bounties on them. So they are, when things are well, their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is well, is thriving. But that is a relationship of basically, that's commodification of love. That is basically not genuine love. It's not true love. It's conditional love. It's contingent love. It is basically أغراض لأعواض. It is basically seeking self-interest. ومن الناس ما يعبد الله على حرف فإن أصابه خير اطمأن به. In Surah al-Haj, Allah says, of the people are those who worship Allah on an edge. And if if He bestows good on them, then they have sort of peace, and اطمأن به, they have comfort and peace. They don't have comfort and peace in Allah. Had they had comfort and peace in Allah, Allah does not go away. But they have comfort and peace in that which He has given them. They have comfort and peace in their career, in their wealth, in their body, in their strength, in their family, in whatever sense of belonging they have to a fraternity or a group or this and that. That is where they are getting their comfort and their tuma'anina, their serenity. في فإن أصابه خير اطمأن به وإن أصابته فتنة انقلب على وجهه خسر الدنيا والآخرة. ذلك هو الخسران المبين. But if a fitna, if a trial befalls him, he flips on his face, he turns on his face, he flips on his face, most surely he had lost dunya al-akhirah, this life and the hereafter. Well, certainly that is certainly the condition of many people, and you want to make sure that you're not one of them. You really want to make sure that you're not one of them. So al-hubb, the true hubb, the true love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one that is validated, that is proven, one that is surrounded by himma, the drive to please him, and uns, feeling that comforting intimacy in his company, and one that is not contingent upon anything. It's not conditional. It's unconditional love. It is not contingent upon what he has given you. Then the Shaykh said, and that is basically one of the beautiful definitions also, ta'alluq al-qalb, it's the clinging of the heart. Love is a willful action of the heart. It's a willful, the affectionate inclination of the heart. It's the affection inclination of the heart. And the definitions of love are so many. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah mentions 30 definitions that he traces them to different masters of the past. 30 different definitions of love. And then he ends the 30 definitions by the 30th definition, which is al-Junayd's definition. Abu Bakr al-Kattani said that they were sitting one day around the Kaaba during the Mawsim of al-Haj, or is it the season of Hajj, and the Mashayikh, that means the masters of the past, were sitting together, and you could imagine, the Mashayikh that Abu Bakr is talking about. One of them was al-Junayd, but he was the youngest. So you could imagine a company where Junayd is the youngest, and his turn comes at last, at the end. And then after everybody, reflected on what love means, Al-Junayd was asked, "Ma taqulu ya Iraqi?" What do you say, O Iraqi? Iraqi from Iraq, يعني Iraq. ما تقول يا عراقي؟ فقال عبد ذاهب عن نفسه, a slave who is detached from himself. The lover. A slave who is detached from himself, ذاهب عن نفسه, or detached from his ego. متصل بذكر ربه, connected through the remembrance of his Lord. قائم بأداء حقه, fulfilling all of his rights. ناظر إليه بقلبه, constantly beholding him with his heart. أحرقت قلبه أنوار هيبته, the flames of his majesty, the flames of the Lord's majesty burnt up his heart. وصفى شربه من كأس وده, and he subsists only on the nectar of his infinite compassion. And he subsists only on the nectar of his infinite compassion. وانكشف له الجبار من أستار غيبه, and the Jabbar, the compeller, had manifested himself to him through the veils of the unseen. فإذا تكلم فبالله, so when he talks, it is by Allah. وإذا نطق فعن الله, and when he makes any utterance, it is after Allah or from Allah. وإذا تحرك فبأمر الله, and if he moves, it is by the command of Allah. وإذا سكن فمع الله, and if he stays still, he is with Allah, in union with Allah, in jam'iyya, in togetherness with Allah. فهو بالله ولله ومع الله. So he is by Allah, for Allah, with Allah. That's baqa' billah. That's subsistence with Allah, for Allah, by Allah. So they start, the Mashayikh started to cry, and they said, جئت بما لا مزيد عليه جزاك الله يا تاج العارفين. So you have given us a definition that no addition can be made to it, or you have given us the ultimate definition. May Allah reward you, O crown of the Gnostics, or crown of the Arifin. Arifin would be better than the Gnostics because of the negative connotations. So, O crown of the Arifin. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah said it is the sort of the most inclusive definition, or elaborate definition. And that's why sometimes, sometimes the mashayikh try to be brief, use symbolism, but the thing is, the purpose, you should fulfill the purpose of your statements, whether or not you can be brief. So Junaid was not particularly brief here, right? It's a long statement. It was not particularly brief. So don't be captive to style. It's important. What matters at the end of the day is the benefit, is the lesson that we learn, and the benefit, not the style, not the elegance of the style. So then the Shaykh said, وَالْمَحَبَّةُ أَوَّلُ أَوْدِيَةِ الْفَنَاءِ وَالْمَحَبَّةُ أَوَّلُ أَوْدِيَةِ الْفَنَاءِ وَالْعَقَبَةُ الَّتِي يَنْحَدِرُ مِنْهَا عَلَى مَنَازِلِ الْمَحْوِ. Mahabba, or love, is the first or the beginning of the valleys of self-annihilation, and the steep path from which he or she descends onto the stations of obliteration. Mahw is obliteration. That's the mahw of the ego, the obliteration of the ego, the obliteration of the self. So he says that everything before mahabba is basically on the other side, of the mountain. You get to the top, which is mahabba, and then you start to descend into the valley of self-annihilation. According to the Shaykh, particularly in this book, as we said before, because not in all of his books, but according to the Shaykh rahimahullah, in his book, he makes fana to be the final and the ultimate station. And if you understand the reason behind this, the prosperity and the sort of the beginning and the middle of the Abbasi dynasty, and whatever comes with prosperity in terms of the lack of commitment and on the part of many Muslims, and being consumed into the pleasures of this life, and the manifestations of prosperity and wealth, and and certainly egoism and all of selfishness, hoarding, abundance, and all of the ailments that come about with taraf, with luxury. So he lived in that neighborhood. He died in the year 480 or 81 after Hijrah. So he lived in that time period when the Abbasi Khilafah had peaked, and the mashayikh that particularly lived during this time, the emphasis for them was on crushing the ego. The emphasis for them was on zuhd and fana and things of that nature, because they were countering the ethos of the day, and that's where they were coming from. So the Shaykh is, particularly in this book, his emphasis on self-annihilation, the crushing of the ego. So he considers mahabba to be the steep path from which you start to descend into self-annihilation. Anything before this is almost, is not really of the stations of the elites. It is the public. But of course, many masters, and that is the stronger position, they consider baqa' billah ma'allah, like al-Junaid, like the statement of al-Junaid, to subsist with Allah, for Allah, by Allah, to be the highest, to be better than any form of manifestation of self-annihilation or even reality of self-annihilation, to be higher than intoxication, to be higher than bewilderment, to have clarity, to have and to have stability is superior. And fana to some of them is a required bridge to subsistence, baqa' billah ma'allah, and for Allah, by Allah, for Allah, with Allah. And for many of them, it is not even required, because we have not seen the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba necessarily manifest those symptoms of fana like the followers did. So it may not be necessary. However, part of it is necessary, as we said before. The crushing of the ego in the sense of arrogance, in the sense of pride, boastfulness, and that is necessary. The fana in terms of the sort of the fana al-iradat, to the extent that your will is not in any way, shape, or form in conflict with His will and in complete conformity with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is necessary. The fana of shuhud to some extent, meaning that nothing can distract you from beholding your Lord, or from watching your Lord, or watching your Lord's watchfulness of you. Nothing would ever distract your sight from that. That is necessary. Otherwise, it's not necessary. So the Shaykh here says that this is المحبة أول أودية الفناء والعقبة التي ينحدر منها على منازل المحو. Mahabba is the first of the valleys of fana, or self-annihilation, the steep path from which he or she descends onto the stations of obliteration. He says وهي آخر منزل تلتقي فيه مقدمة العامة وساقة الخاصة. It is the last station where the front rows of the masses meet the back rows of the elites. It is, that because for him, he told you that's the steep path. You get to that point, and then the elites go down to the stations of self-annihilation, and the masses would have reached their ending. Once they have reached the station of mahabba, or the space of mahabba, they have reached their ending. If they proceed, they are not the masses anymore. So it is the last place or station where the front rows of the masses meet the back rows of the elites. وَمَا دُونَهَا أَغْرَاضٌ لِأَعْوَاضٍ. Whatever is beneath it are self-interests in compensation, or compensations. So anything beneath al-mahabba, anything before mahabba, is basically, like a business. It is basically like deal making. You're making deals with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want this, I'll give you that, you give me this. I'll give you that, you give me this. I'll leave this up, give this up, you give me this instead. It is all aghrad li awad, it's all self-interest. In compensations, and even those compensations do not have to be material. You could be interested in inner peace, you could be interested in comfort, you could be interested in ease, you could be interested in fulfillment, you could be interested in happiness. It doesn't have to be material. It's not like, I give you this, you give me that. It's always a material compensation. But you just want to be compensated. And you want to be compensated. Most of us want to be even compensated immediately. It's not like you want your compensation in the hereafter, which we said that we will always want the reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we will always appreciate the reward of Allah. But as we said last time, without that reward, He is deserving of love, regardless of that reward. And He is deserving of the awe and the glorification, regardless of any punishment. Anyway, so the Shaykh talks here about anything beneath al-mahabba. Those who do not have the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're deal makers at the end of the day. They're traders, they're exchangers. And that certainly is inferior without any doubt. Without any doubt. Raja' al-khawf should never take the place of mahabba, should never overwhelm the feelings of mahabba, should never even compete with mahabba. They are important, they are essential, they are part of it, part of your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you hope in His reward and you fear from His punishment, but they should never compete with the place of mahabba. And then the Shaykh said, والمحبة هي سمة الطائفة وعنوان الطريقة ومعقد النسبة وهي على 3 درجات. Love is the hallmark of the community. That's the community of the seekers. المحبة هي سمة الطائفة. Love is the hallmark of the community. That's the community of the seekers. وعنوان الطريقة, عنوان would be the title or the address or the guide on the path. That's the path. That's the journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, path of purification. وَمَعْقِدُ النِّسْبَةِ, and the condition of belonging, belonging to the fraternity of the seekers. You do not belong to the fraternity of the seekers without having the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, without actually validating your love. And then the Shaykh said, وَهِيَ عَلَى 3 درجات, and it is of 3 levels. And certainly, we're not given any of this its due right, because we want to finish the station of Muhammad. You can imagine the mahabba of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a station, and we want to finish it in one time, in one session. So, but anyway, the Shaykh then will start to talk about the 3 different levels. And he says, الدرجة الأولى محبة تقطع الوساوس وتلذ الخدمة وتسلي عن المصائب. He will describe it, and then he will start to talk about the means to mahabba, what gets you to mahabba. And he will mention أسباب المحبة, the causes of mahabba, things that will result in mahabba. And the Shaykh will mention some, and I will add some, from the other mashayikh. So he said, محبة تقطع الوساوس وتلذ الخدمة وتسلي عن المصائب. Mahabba that ends all suspicions and whispers. تقطع الوساوس, it ends all wasawis could be what? Wasawis could mean doubts, could mean suspicions, but could also mean competing thoughts that compete with this mahabba. So when the mahabba basically completely overwhelms any competing thoughts in your heart, that's the mahabba that he's talking about. It is a mahabba that ends all suspicions and ends all competing thoughts, ends all doubts. وَتُلِذُّ الْخِدْمَةِ, and it sweetens the service. And that's what we all seek, that's what we all pursue. When the service of Allah becomes the fuel, the energy that you live by, the sunshine of your day is when you basically are in service. It is your time of uns, your time of comforting intimacy is when you are in service, not the time of discharging your obligations towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But certainly if we're not there, then we should continue to discharge our obligations and continue to strive to fulfill our obligations, so that we may get to the point where the service is sweet. And then he said, وَتُسَلِّي عَنِ الْمَصَائِبِ, and lightens the tragedies. تُسَلِّي عَنِ الْمَصَائِبِ, lightens the tragedies. Consoles the heart in the times of tragedy. You know, and that is extremely important. The love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make light all of the hardships in this dunya. The love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make light all of the hardships in this dunya. And you know, people think that happiness should be the ultimate pursuit in this dunya, right? Depends on what they mean by happiness. If you know, they mean sa'adat darain, maybe. It means, you know, prosperity and success and happiness and joy in both in both abodes, this life and the hereafter, maybe. It's the ultimate sa'adah. But what they mean by happiness, they mean material happiness. They mean excitement and, you know, giddiness and so on. But that may work out for people who have what? Who have everything they want. But once they start to go through any hardship, they lose that. Life crumbles, really crumbles away. And they will have no meaning, no purpose to carry them through hardship. But the ultimate pursuit in life is devotion to God, which will give you always meaning and purpose. Meaning and purpose that will carry you through any hardship in life, that will console your heart when you encounter any tragedy in your life. And that's real resilience, right? Because life is pretty unpredictable. And if you're only counting on having your health and wealth and family and career and power indefinitely, think again. Who had it indefinitely? You know, no one had it indefinitely. At least if you live long enough, you'll start to lose your health. You know, no one stayed, you know, 33 years old forever. No one is forever 21. Know the store, the Forever 21? No one is forever 21. No one is forever 33. It is actually a moment that you're just a moment. You are 33 only for a moment. Anyway, and no one is ever 40 even. So finding purpose and meaning can be only found with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the giver, the bestower of purpose and meaning. Without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there would be no purpose and no meaning. And then the Shaykh started to talk about, you know, the causes of mahabba, and he said, وَهِيَ مَحَبَّةٌ, and it is a love that تنبت من مطالعة المنة. تنبت من مطالعة المنة, and he will mention some now. He said that it emanates from beholding the grace. It emanates from beholding the grace. مطالعة المنة. Remember a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that Abu Huraira related to us, where the Prophet ﷺ said, لا انظروا إلى من هو أسفل منكم ولا تنظروا إلى من هو فوقكم فهو أجدر ألا تزدروا نعمة ربكم عليكم. Look at those who are below you and don't look at those who are above you. That is in terms of material bounties. فهو أجدر ألا تزدروا نعمة ربكم عليكم. Because that is, you're more likely to not belittle the grace of your Lord, the bounties of your Lord, favors of your Lord up on you. If you look at those who are below you in this life, or beneath you, or inferior to you in this life, and not at those. It is important. It is important that you always sit down. And I was talking to a brother yesterday, and who had some difficulty, in life. And I told him, don't you think that 99% of people your age in the world, 98% or 99%. I actually said 95%, and I'd be lying, But then he said that no more than this. I told him, don't you think that 95% of people your age wish to be in your place now? And he said yes. I said in the whole world. He said maybe even just here in America. So I said, and after all of this, how could you not be grateful? How could you not be accepting? That is a problem. That is really a problem. But it is not when 95% of people wish to be in your place. But if you have Iman, then you would not trade this for anything. And so many people don't have it. If you just have Iman, you don't have anything else. But really, if you look at the ni'am of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can't count them. وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. And if you start to count the bounties of Allah, the favors of Allah, you can never count them. And sit down and think about it, reflect on this. So mutala'at al-minna is important, and part of this is some self-acceptance. Some self-acceptance. We always talk about self-reckoning, right? That you should not be lenient with yourself, to be, to allow yourself to be negligent, to be heedless, and all of that. But there is also some need for self-acceptance. You should also accept yourself to some extent. Be content with your accomplishments, your achievements, to some extent, particularly in life. When you say, I wish I had, chosen that career, you should say to yourself, but my career is okay. My spouse is okay. My house is okay. My car. You want to appreciate Allah's ni'am on you. And these are all Allah's ni'am on you. I am happy with this car. It may not be the best car. It may be giving you trouble. But you should start to appreciate your car. Should start to appreciate your house. Should start to appreciate your spouse. You should start to make yourself appreciate your achievements so far. That does not mean that there will be no self-reckoning or no blaming. Blaming that motivates you, that energizes you, that makes you improve in the future. But at this point, up until this point, I'm here. I should have self-acceptance. And then, if there is room for improvement, we're talking about the future. We're not talking about the past. We're just talking about the future. I will do more. I will commit to doing more. I will resolve to doing more. But self-acceptance is important, and this is part of appreciating the ni'am of Allah and part of developing love for Allah. To have some love for yourself, and which is not egoism. It is not boastfulness. It is not arrogance. It is not conceitedness. It is self-acceptance. To be able to appreciate the ni'am of Allah. Because He even gave you yourself. He gave you your own existence. He gave you everything that you have now. Everything that you have done so far. It was by His assistance. So some of this is important. Mutala'at al-minna, And then the Shaykh said, وَتَثْبُتُ بِاتِّبَاعِ السُّنَّةِ. And then it becomes firm by following the Sunnah. Becomes firm by following the Sunnah. And certainly we cannot emphasize this enough, or we cannot, can't underscore the importance of this enough. It is the mihna. You know, Abu Sulaiman al-Darani said many people claim to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested them with ayat al-mihna. Allah tested them with the verse, the testing verse. Ayat al-mihna, the testing verse, the trying verse. You know what the trying verse is? وَلَإِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ. Say, if you truly love Allah, then follow me that Allah may love you. Because that's what matters. For Allah to love you, that's what matters. So say, if you truly love Allah, then follow me so that Allah may love you. This is Ayat al-Mihna. This is the testing verse. Do you truly love the Prophet ﷺ? Follow the Prophet ﷺ? Give precedence to the hukm of the Prophet, to the amr of the Prophet, to the way of the Prophet ﷺ? And if you do, then at least then you have basically submitted a reasonable application. But there will be more coming. There will be more tests coming. And Ibn Qayyim said that those who make that claim and provide the initial validation, فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ, then it will be said to them, مَن يَرْتَدَّ مِنْكُمْ عَنْ دِينِهِ فَسَوْفَ يَأْتِي اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ يحبهم ويحبونه أذلة على المؤمنين أعزة على الكافرين يجاهدون في سبيل الله ولا يخافون لومة لائم. More tests are coming. You know, they love him, he loves them, they love him. They are humble with the believers, mighty against the disbelievers. They strive in the cause of Allah, and they don't fear the blame of the blamers. And they don't feel the blame of the blamers. As long as they are with Allah, then they don't mind the blame of the blamers. They are not uncomfortable with their Islam. They are not uncomfortable with their Iman. They are not uncomfortable with their religious commitment. Whether it is, you know, with family members, co-workers, neighbors, the whole world, they're just not uncomfortable. In Ibrahim kana ummah, Ibrahim was an ummah, was a nation by himself, the whole world. You know, if I will be up against the whole world, I don't mind. I am not uncomfortable with that. I'm completely okay with it. I'm completely comfortable with it. That's why he was a nation by himself. Then Ibn Qayyim says that then if they agree to this, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will sign the contract with them. The contract is إن الله اشترى من المؤمنين أنفسهم وأموالهم بأن لهم الجنة يقاتلون في سبيل الله فيقتلون ويقتلون وعدا عليه حقا في التوراة والإنجيل والقرآن. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had purchased from the believers their, you know, lives and their property, their wealth and their lives in exchange for paradise. The ayat, the verses. Or the verse. So وَتَثْبُتْ بِاتِّبَاعِ السُنَّةِ becomes firm by following the sunnah. And like I said so many times, when we talk about following the sunnah, some people are so dogmatic in presenting the sunnah to people. Some people are so dogmatic. It's not about dogmatism. It is about spirituality. We said that if you truly love Allah, then you will try to do what Allah loves. And how could you know what He loves except through His Messenger? Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ لِيُطْلَعَكُمْ عَلَى الْغَيْبِ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَجْتَبِي مِنْ رُسُلِهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. And Allah would have not disclosed the unseen to you, but Allah selects of His messengers whomever He pleases. So how would you know? Like if you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you want to please Allah, how do you know what is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Except through His messenger. And then the Shaykh said, وَتَنْمُو عَلَى الْإِجَابَةِ بِالْفَاقَةِ. And this love blossoms by responding with brokenness. Ijaba bil-faqa. Ijaba bil-faqa. It blossoms by responding with brokenness. Responding means what? You respond to Allah. You respond to the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You commitment. Diligent commitment. sincere, genuine commitment. It is not love because you just want to be spiritual. It is love because you want to please Allah and you want Allah to love you. It is love that is validated by proofs. It is love that can be proven. So, ijaba. Tanmu ala al-ijaba. Ijaba is responding, is to commit, to respond to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bil-faqa, with brokenness, and this is extremely important as well. And the masters of the past particularly, stress that notion, that conception, that ijaba bil-faqa, ijaba with brokenness. Because, as they say, sawlatul, as they say in Kisar al-Muti' ahabbu ila Allah min sawlat al-asi. The brokenness of the sinner is more beloved to Allah than the forcefulness of the obedient. The brokenness of the sinner is more beloved to Allah than the forcefulness of the obedient. The Shaykh wants you to be broken in your obedience. So he's talking about al-ijaba bil-faqa. So you're doing everything that you can. You're committing. You're committed. You're diligent. And you have resolve in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And despite all of this, you are broken, because you know that all of it is His fadl. And you know that you can't guarantee staying on the path. You cannot guarantee without His help, without His assistance. You can never guarantee that you will stay on the path and you will not drift away from the path. So you're always obedient and you're always broken. You're coming to Him, you're responding to His commands with complete brokenness. I would have never been able to do this without your help. Keep me on the path. Don't swerve my heart. Don't let my heart swerve away, or don't, misguide my heart. And with this complete dependence on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and complete brokenness and recognition of your weakness and your inability even to be obedient. Your inability even to be obedient. We talked last time about Wahib ibn al-Ward. One of the things that Wahib ibn al-Ward said was when someone made tawaf and they asked him what's the reward of tawaf, and he said he should have asked what is the gratitude that is due to Allah, not the reward, because that is what you need to be busy with. You should need to get busy with showing gratitude to Allah for inviting you to His house, for giving you the power to make tawaf, for giving you tawfiq, and if you did it sincerely, for giving you sincerity. All of this is from Him. So instead of asking for the reward, just ask about the gratitude binding on you now, the gratitude that you should, the gratefulness that you should show to your Lord for His tawfiq. Okay, so brokenness, that is extremely important. That's extremely important. Brokenness. Allah la yuhibbul mu'tadeen, right? Allah la yuhibbul mustakbirin. Allah does not like the arrogant. La yuhibbul mustakbirin. Allah told you in the Quran. Allah does not like the arrogant. La yuhibbu man kana mukhtalan fakhura. Allah does not like the one who is conceited or vain and boastful. And kana khawanan athima, the one who is a traitor, wicked. And certainly la yuhibbu al-kafirin, la yuhibbu al-zalimin. But there is so much emphasis in the Quran, in the Sunnah, on on the evil of kibr, arrogance, conceitedness, vanity, boastfulness, pride. Then the Shaykh said, وَالدَّرَجَةُ الثَّانِيَةِ مَحَبَّةٌ تَبْعَثُ عَلَى إِيثَارِ الْحَقِّ عَلَى غَيْرِهِ وَتُلْهِجُ اللِّسَانَ بِذِكْرِهِ وَتُعَلِّقُ الْقَلْبَ بِشُهُودِهِ وهي محبة تظهر من مطالعة الصفات والنظر إلى الآيات والارتياض بالمقامات. Okay, the second level is love that leads to favoring the true one over all else and keeps the tongue in constant remembrance of him and fixates the heart on beholding him. It is a love that results from مطالعة الصفات, contemplating the attributes. That's contemplating the attributes of Allah. The attributes of might, the attributes of beauty, and you see the attributes of Allah in everything around you, in yourself and in everything around you. وَالنَّظَرْ إِلَى الْآيَاتِ, beholding the signs, beholding the verses. Nazar al-ayat could mean the signs of Allah in the universe, could mean the verses of Allah in the Quran. There is al-ayat al-maqru'a and al-ayat al-manzura. There are the ayat that you could read and the ayat that you could see. Ayat al-manzura are the ayat that you could see. Ayat al-maqru'a are the ayat that you could read. You know, between the two covers of the Mus'haf, the Quran, in the Quran. And al-ayat al-maqru'a, certainly one of the things that are extremely important is your connection with the Quran. If this is Allah's message to you, can you imagine, your most beloved sent you a message and you're not interested in reading it? It doesn't make any sense. What love is that? And you're not interested in studying it. You're not interested in reflecting on it. You're not interested in living by it. What kind of love is that? So a particular connection with the Quran. متصل بذكر ربه. And what dhikr could be better than the Quran? It's connected through the remembrance of his Lord. Connected to his Lord through his remembrance. So, and then in the Quran itself, just search for the word yuhib. Inna Allah yuhibbu, wallahu yuhibbu. Inna Allah la yuhibbu, wallahu la yuhibbu. Allah loves, Allah does not love, Search for the word yuhib. And you will find that Allah loves whom? In Surah Al-Baqarah, or you start from the beginning to the end. Allah loves al-Muhsineen, Allah loves al-Tawabeen, Allah loves al-Mutatahireen or al-Muttahireen, Allah loves al-Muttaqeen, Allah loves al-Muqsiteen, Allah loves al-Saa'ireen, Allah yuhibbu al-Saa'ireen, Allah yuhibbu al-Mutawakkilin, Allah loves the Mutawakkilin. So the gracious, the good doers, al-Muhsineen, the God conscious, the muttaqeen, the patient ones, the sabireen, tawabin, the repentant ones, the mutatahireen, the ones who seek purification, purify themselves, interior and exterior. We said the mutawakkilin, those who rely on Allah. We said al-muqsiteen, those who are fair and just. And if you want Allah to love you, He told you. He told you the people that He loves. He told you their qualities. He told you your descriptions. And if you want to stay away from His anger and His disliking of you, He also told you, لا يحب المعتدين المستكبرين الكافرين الظالمين من كان مختالا فخورا من كل خوان كفور كان who else did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us that He does not love? We said al-mustakbirin. So you just search for the word love, yuhib, and then you can see in the Quran will tell you the ones that He loves and the ones that He does not love. And then the Shaykh said, وَالْارْتِيَاضُ بِالْمَقَامَاتِ وَالْارْتِيَاضُ بِالْمَقَامَاتِ. So one of the causes of his love is al-irtiyad bil-maqamat, which is observing the protocols of the stations. That's basically tarjama b'tasarruf. That is basically sort of my liberal translation. Al-irtiyad is from what? It is, when we talked about the station of riyada, it's the station of disciplining, to discipline yourself. Al-irtiyad through the different stations, to discipline yourself within the different stations, like the stations that we talked about, like the 61 stations that we have gone through so far. But it means in general, commitment. It means in general, you go by the protocols that will get you to the love of Allah, to be beloved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Certainly Allah told you about many things in the Quran. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told you actually it's a hadith Qudsi, so Allah told you in this hadith Qudsi, وَمَا تَقَرَّبَ عَبْدِي إِلَيَّ بِشَيْءٍ أَحَبَّ إِلَيَّ مِمَّا افْتَرَضْتُهُ عَلَيْهِ ولا يزال عبدي يتقرب إلي بالنوافل حتى أحبه فإذا أحببته كنت سمعه الذي يسمع به وعينه التي يبصر بها ويده التي يبطش بها وقدمه التي يمشي بها ولئن سألني لأعطينه ولئن استعاذني لأعيذنه. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that my Lord, my servant does not draw closer to me by anything more beloved to me than the fara'id, that which I have made obligatory on him, and he continues to draw closer to me by nawafil, by the sunnah, until I love him. So nawafil, we said that dhikr, certainly dhikr, the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, muttasilun bi dhikri rabbih. The best dhikr is the Quran, to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by reciting the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salah and munajah. Salah is at the heart of your connectedness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those who are not committed to their prayers 5 times a day with reflection, contemplation, and who do not find tuma'nina are disconnected, really disconnected. Even if their prayer is heedless or they're negligent in their prayer, they're still disconnected. I mean, at least they would have fulfilled the obligation, but they're really disconnected. And the munajah, particularly in the middle of the night, all of these are means to the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of the means to the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of the greatest means to the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would be to shun anything that will distract you, to avoid anything that will distract you, any lower desire. قل إن كان آباؤكم وأبناؤكم وإخوانكم وأزواجكم وأموالكم وعشيرتكم قل إن كان آباؤكم وأبناؤكم وإخوانكم وأزواجكم وعشيرتكم وأموال اقترفتموها وتجارة تخشون كسادها ومساكن ترضونها أحب إليكم من الله ورسوله وجهاد في سبيله فتربصوا حتى يأتي الله بأمره والله لا يهدي القوم الفاسقين. قل إن كان آباؤكم وأبناؤكم, say if your fathers, your ancestors, your children, your siblings, your mates or spouses, your families, your tribes, wealth that you وكان آباؤكم وأبناؤكم وإخوانكم وأزواجكم وعشيرتكم وأموال اقترفتموها وتجارة تخشون كسادها وأموال اقترفتموها would be money that you're pleased with, وتجارة تخشون كسادها, and commerce that you fear the decline of, ومساكن ترضونها, and homes where you find pleasure and comfort. أحب إليكم من الله ورسوله, are more beloved to you than Allah and His Messenger. فتربصوا, then wait around until Allah brings about His command. والله لا يهدي القوم الفاسقين, and Allah does not guide those who are persistently disobedient or who are defiantly disobedient, who are defiantly wicked. And that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He told you everything that could be competing, everything here that could be competing. So think about these things. And these are all competitors. It is okay to love them. It is okay to love humanity, because it is okay to love al-khalq, to love Allah's creations because they are Allah's creations. But it's not okay to allow any of that to compete with Allah's love in your heart. So you have to shun all of this competition or competitors. And what will enable you is mujalasat al-muhibbeen. Mujalasat al-muhibbeen is basically to be in the company of the lovers, because the lovers are always attached to their beloved. And when they talk, they remind you of the beloved. When they act, they remind you of the beloved. They move, they stay still. Everything about them is a reminder of the beloved. So you do need to have to be in the company of the lovers. Ibn Ajiba rahimahullah ta'ala said, Wallahi ma aflaha man aflaha illa bi suhbati man aflah. By Allah, no one prospered except by the company of those who prospered, except through the company of those who prospered. إلا بصحبة من أفلح ما أفلح من أفلح إلا بصحبة من أفلح. Finally, الدرجة الثالثة, we will finish, although it is really time is tight for this particular station. الدرجة الثالثة محبة خاطفة تقطع العبارة وتدقق الإشارة ولا تنتهي بالنعوت، وهذه المحبة هي قطب هذا الشأن، وما دونها محاب نادت عليها الألسن وادعتها الخليقة وأوجبتها العقول. الدرجة الثالثة, third level, محبة خاطفة. It's a captivating love. خاطفة, it kidnaps you. خطف, to kidnap, captivates. محبة خاطفة, it's a captivating love. تقطع الإشارة, that voids expressions. Nothing can describe it. Voids expressions. وتدقق الإشارة or وتدفع الإشارة. Ibn al-Qayyim, the manuscript that Ibn al-Qayyim used, you will find تدفع الإشارة. And if we say تدفع الإشارة and pushes away symbolism, pushes away, those pearls of wisdom, like short statements, epithets, whatever, symbolism. It means that neither the ibara or the ishara, nothing explicit or even implicit, would describe it. Or تدقق الإشارة, the other manuscripts, تدقق الإشارة, it means refines the isharat, gestures. Because the ibara, the explicit statement, cannot describe it, but the gestures. If the Shaykh said تدقق الإشارة, then he said that the gestures could basically touch on it. And to have true mahabba, your gestures will be more genuine, will be more truthful, will be more telling of al-mahabba. ولا تنتهي بالنعوت, and cannot be encompassed with attributes. وهذه المحبة هي قطب هذا الشأن. This love, this type of love, is the cornerstone of this matter, is the main pole or pillar or cornerstone of this matter. وما دونها محاب, and all loves beneath it are mahab, they are loves, phenomena. نادت عليها الألسن, spoken by the tongues. وادعتها الخليقة, claimed by the creations. وأوجبتها العقول, and validated by the intellect or the intellects. So the mahabba, short of this is the experiential mahabba. This is the mahabba that you find really in your heart. This is the mahabba that is not attainable through exercise or discipline or irtiyad bil maqamat. This is a mahabba that will be given to you. This is the mahabba that is wahbiyya. This is the mahabba that comes when Allah actually loves you. It is the mahabba that you could not basically describe the means to it, although that you will have to expose yourself to it. And going through the first and second phases will be the prerequisite to be deserving, not deserving, but even to be considered for this type of mahabba. you want to go through the first and the second, and you want to go through all the means to mahabba, you want to go through all the causes of mahabba, and expose yourself to Allah so that He may grant you this mahabba that you will find in your heart, and that it will overwhelm you. You will find it in your heart, and it, as he described it, it cannot be described. That's the only fair description of this mahabba, that it cannot be described. Everything else, it surpasses knowledge. It's a mahabba that surpasses knowledge. It's experiential mahabba. It surpasses knowledge. There is no cause and effect here. Cause and effect stop here. It is basically the source. It comes from the source, without any basically discernible, comprehensible cause and effect. Like the two different types of mahabba that the Shaykh described before. Which does not mean that the previous types of mahabba are keep in mind, you have to go through the first two levels. And you have to use your intellect. You have to reflect with your intellect to get to the mahabba in the first level and the second level, so that you could be considered for the gift of mahabba of the third level. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who love Him. And we can finish by the dua of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's reported by Tirmidhi from Abi Darda radiallahu anhu that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to say, Allahumma inni as'aluka hubbak wa hubba man yuhibbuk wal amal alladhi yuballighuni hubbak Allahumma aj'al hubbaka ahabba ilayya min nafsi wa ahli wal ma' al-barid. And ma' al-barid is basically a representation of an abstraction from survival and the most basic needs in survival. Anyway, but this hadith means, oh Allah, that's what the Prophet ﷺ used to say, oh Allah, grant me your love, grant me your love. Oh Allah, I ask you for your love and the love of those who love you, and actions or deeds, either the love of deeds, which would be والعمل الذي يبلغني حبك, or والعمل الذي يبلغني حبك, or deeds to empower me to do the things that will earn me your love. اللهم اجعل حبك أحب إلي من نفسي وأهلي ومن الماء البارد. Oh Allah, make your love more beloved to me than myself, my family, and cold water, which, like I said, the representation of an abstraction, representation of survival, my own survival. So just we can say it. Allahumma inni as'aluka hubbak wa hubba man yuhibbuk wal amal alladhi yuballighuni hubbak Allahumma aj'al hubbaka ahabba ilayya min nafsi wa ahli wa min al-ma' al-barid. May Allah make us of those who love Him and those who are loved by Him. Ameen ya Rabb.